Hello and welcome, everyone, to Good Old Rocky Talk, a Vol Society podcast. I'm your host, Brad, here with my partners, the Davids. We're glad you're listening wherever you are. This is Good Old Rocky Talk. Welcome back, everyone, to our second season of Good Old Rocky Talk. I'm your host and founder of Vol Society, Brad Frank, joined by my colleagues, David Dees and David Morrison. Guys, welcome back.
I've been waiting for you, Brad, since that South Carolina game. I've been sitting here since like November and nobody's signed on to the podcast. What's going on, man?
I'll tell you what.
What's up, Brad? What's up, David?
Hey guys, I'll tell you what's up. First of all, it's good to be back in the Vol Society studio, recording Good Old Rocky Talk for our second season premiere. All right, so welcome everyone. It's good to be back with you guys. And Morrison, to answer your question, man, I tell you, I guess it has been since November of last year since we recorded a podcast. After that South Carolina game, I got to tell you, let's just say I had to load up on that blood pressure medicine a little bit, because that was a no bueno, guys. I did not enjoy that.
I completely understand.
Well, we're in season 2. That means we've already made it one season longer than one of my favorite shows, Freaks and Geeks. Freaks and Geeks was a one-season show. We're season 2,
As it should
so
be.
we're doing something special.
That's
Yeah,
right.
we're doing something special. We're good. No, it's definitely good to be back. And they do say, I don't know if you know this, I'll have to look at the statistic, but they talk about podcasting and there's a statistic out there that I don't know what it is, but it's super high that most people who start a podcast, they don't make it past I don't know, either one season, or I think it was more specific, after 8 episodes, they fail. They just stop.
It's a miracle.
They just stop
We're a
doing
walking
it.
miracle.
And we're a walking miracle. And we're only here because of our loyal fans. Guys, let me tell you real quick before we get going on about this season. As you guys know, if you're listening here, well, first of all, thank you for joining us. But this is a part of our Facebook page or social media page, Vol Society. So if you're listening to us here on your podcast, be sure to check us out on Facebook, Instagram, or wherever, Twitter. We're on or X, whatever it's called now, and YouTube. But we're most known on Facebook. And let me tell you, we're knocking on the door here at 40,000 Vol Society fans. I mean, that's insane. 40,000 followers, and it's growing by 1,000 a week. It's insane. So anyways, we're only here because of you guys. So thank you so much for tuning in, following us. We're happy to be here, and we're glad you're following us. But here we are, guys. It's season 2, 2023. We are days away. We're recording on Monday. You'll probably be listening to this, God willing, if I get this edited and uploaded to the platform, on Tuesday. Okay, Tuesday before game week. The game is Saturday against Virginia. We're back and we're ready to rock and roll. All right, guys. Now, as you know, last year the Vols went 11-2 and had their best record, get this, since 2001. That's 21 years, folks. It's been a long time. Fair to say it's been a long time coming. And I must say I enjoyed every second of it last year, and I look forward to another great year. How about you guys?
Absolutely. Looking forward to 2023. Hopefully, we can write off a 2022. Last year, just, memorable game after memorable moment. And hopefully 23 will continue just to roll on with some new players and returning players. And like I said, we'll break down this team later on in the podcast. But yeah, I'm excited about this year, Brad.
Awesome. And I'm sure David Dees is as well. I tell you what, you got anything to say, David?
No, I'm just excited too, and I think in years past with previous head coaches, you just tried to forget that season, right? And how refreshing it is to have come off a big season where it's like, man, I don't know if we can duplicate that again this year. So it's a good problem to have. Just excited to see what Josh Heupel can do with a new cast of characters in his offense, and with what all of us believe will be an improved defense this year.
Yeah, amen. Absolutely. All right, guys. As you guys know, we like to do this podcast in different segments. I'll tell you what, let's get started. You guys ready? Let's move in to our first segment, recapping the off-season / training camp notes. Let's talk about it. I'm going to let David Morrison, David Dees, take this one. Guys, tell us about the off-season just a little bit, training camp, whatever our listeners need to know about. Who wants to go first?
I'll go ahead. As far as like the off season goes, like I said, coming off the Orange Bowl win, just the momentum of just that huge win over the Clemson Tigers, and going into like I said, the off season, you do lose several key players from last year's team out to the NFL, like Hendon Hooker, Jalen Hyatt, Byron Young. So a lot of those guys are gone. And then you go into like spring ball, and with Joe Milton, like I said, if obviously Vol fans know what happened last year with Hendon Hooker going out in that South Carolina game, and then Joe Milton taking over the last two games and winning the Orange Bowl MVP.
Did Hooker get hurt?
Apparently so, from what I've
Kidding.
what
All
I've
right,
been
go ahead.
told.
Sorry,
Yeah.
I'm
No,
a
you're
jokester.
good.
I'm a jokester. Go ahead.
So no, you're good. No, I'll say going into spring ball, you had Joe Milton now at quarterback. You got your running backs returning, Jabari Small, Jalen Wright, a lot of other key players, Brew McCoy at wide receiver, Squirrel White, and then just kind of the incoming freshmen coming in. Tennessee picked up a big time recruiting class, and of course, headlined by 5-star quarterback Nico Iamaleava. So that's how you pronounce his last name, and I'll probably butcher it throughout the season.
I've already forgotten how to say that last name, and you just said it. And that's the way it goes with me every time.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we're all from East Tennessee, so it's going to be 18 different slangs. So,
yeah.
But anyways, like I said, moving on into fall camp, just like I said, just a lot of returning players and a lot of optimism, especially on offense. And like I said, you said the improved defense hopefully can step up and contribute and really take that next step as far as the complete rebuild goes at Tennessee football.
Yeah. David Dees, you got anything you want to talk about?
Yeah, the only thing I would add to that is just, there were some injuries to be aware of in training camp if you hadn't heard. I know the big one right now is Cooper Mays, starting center, guy who really controls the pace of this offense, makes guys go, gets us lined up properly. He is out for now.
David, can you talk to the extent of his injury? What is going on?
We think it was a hernia surgery, and we think he could be out as long as the Florida game, potentially longer, but hopefully not.
Not good.
Josh Heupel's probably not going to tip his hat to that publicly. He's still acting like it's a week-by-week decision, but I think, we'll be fortunate to have him back by Florida.
If you watched his press conference today, sorry not to interrupt you, but did you see his press conference, Josh Heupel? Yeah, he just like you said, he's kind of beating around the bush and said, "Yeah, he's good. We'll just see day by day if he can play this Saturday." But I don't think he's playing. I don't see it.
Yeah, he's not playing this week, and he's most likely not going to play until Florida at the earliest. Hopefully, we get him back then. I would hate to go down to Gainesville without him, but to put a positive spin on it, I think it's good for our guys to get some cross training, get to play some different positions, and get some guys in the mix that otherwise wouldn't get as many first team snaps, and helps them maybe develop a little bit faster in terms of backups and some depth there. But certainly need him if you're going to Gainesville wanting to win this year. And that's going to be a big loss for this opening week. But I'd rather have him against Florida than have them against Virginia.
Yeah. We'll see what happens. All right, guys, let's go. Let's move on. Let's talk about. It's hard to believe, but yeah, college football did start this past week. Week 0. What did we learn this past week?
We learned that was probably the worst slate of week 0 games in the history of college football.
What?
Ever since they started doing this week 0 thing. This is Vanderbilt, Hawaii, and Notre Dame Navy are your two big time games of the week. That's not good. However, I am a degenerate, and I did watch Notre Dame and Navy. Sam Hartman looked great against Navy, and I know that's a not quality opponent, but Notre Dame looked really good in that game. Brad, I bet you have some thoughts.
Yeah,
on
they
that
looked
one, huh?
amazing. I mean, obviously they were playing Navy, but some people know this. I know David Dees knows this. I'm good friends with Sam Hartman's father. We play golf together. Really good guy. Great family, by the way. But yeah, it was really good to see Sam Hartman debut. 19 of 23, 250 plus yards, I think. 4 touchdowns. Again, yes, it was Navy. Not a great team, but really good to see him off to a great start. Great quarterback. That guy's got a bright future, in my opinion, in the NFL if he stays healthy. But yeah, that was interesting. And then I guess the only other thing I learned was Vanderbilt. They're not really equipped to be playing games at that awesome stadium right now, are they? Good gracious! I mean, what can I say, guys? They had a crane holding up their scoreboard, and it was
It was
swaying.
a dangling scoreboard as the
Swaying
wind
back
blew.
and
You
forth.
see it dangle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, and get this. I thought that was as bad as it could get that night. No. Then I read an article the next day how they had a tent set up for the visiting team. God, that's
Oh my
comical.
gosh. It's like Fire Festival for football.
Fire Festival. Go check it out. I don't know if it's still on Netflix, but you know exactly what we're talking about if you've seen that. But yeah, they had a tent. Imagine going into a tent. You're a visiting team.
And every time the ESPN camera showed either end zone, there was like a construction site in the background with all kinds of trucks and equipment parked in the back. And it was just interesting to see at an SEC stadium.
It was embarrassing to see. That's what it was. Why? First of all, if you're going to do that construction and stuff, why are you? Timing should be everything. Like why? That is atrocious. Why would you start doing that when you know you got football and you got a team coming in? I don't understand it, but what I saw was absolutely ridiculous. I can't even believe that's happening. Anyways, sorry, Vanderbilt, if you're listening.
And I'll say this: that the Ireland thing is really cool. Notre Dame
very
Navy playing in
cool.
Ireland. Last year it was Nebraska and Northwestern. I hope they keep doing that. It's neat to see a football game over there. I know the Chattanooga Baylor kids got to go up there and play a high school game the day before and got to experience that. And they got to hang around for the Notre Dame Navy game, got seats to the game. And that's just a good experience, I think, for everybody. And it's cool seeing those. I guess they're in Dublin, right? And they show the streets of Dublin. There's tons of people piling in for the Notre Dame game.
Yeah.
And I just thought it was cool to see.
It's very cool. And then I actually posted a photo on Vol Society. Did you see that where there was just a random decked out Tennessee fan there in Ireland at the Notre Dame game? But now it makes a little more sense. I want to believe that it was just an awesome Tennessee fan just representing from Ireland, but it makes a little more sense now that when you say that high school football was there, that more than likely it probably was a parent or something that was in attendance of that game. But you never know. We do have Vol fans all over the world, so I'm going to believe that.
Could have been.
Anyways,
Yep.
anyways, let's move on to our next section, guys. A section that I really enjoy doing is hearing from our fans. All right, we're going to go to our mailbag section, and let's see here. We had a bunch of people on our Facebook actually reach out with questions, and I'm going to take a few here, and we'll do our best to answer those. Let's go to let's start with Gary. Let's start with Gary from Clinton, Tennessee.
Home of the Dragons.
Home of the Dragons. Gary, thank you so much for reaching out on Facebook. And now his question, I like this question. What is the biggest reason for optimism this season, and what's your biggest concern? It's a good question, Gary. I guess I'll start. You guys can add in. Interrupt me whenever you want. But Gary, if I had to say reasons for optimism this season, depth. I think we got some good depth both sides of the ball, in particular on defense. Hey, we had a great season last year, no doubt about it. But still, at times, our defense it just made me want to pull my hair out. What little I have left. But I'm excited to see the boys up front this year. All right, under the coaching of God, good guy, Rodney Gardner. My God, what a coach. Anyways, I think the guys up front, your Amari Thomas, Elijah Simmons, Bryson, Eason, and of course Tyler Barron at end. These guys should be putting on a clinic this year, in my opinion. I'm excited to see what they can do. So that's one optimistic thing I'm kind of looking forward to. Guys have a lot more depth. They're mature. They're ready to go. According to fall camp, Rodney Gardner, these guys are looking great. So I think that's going to be one thing, Gary, that we can look at. And the other thing that I would say is I think we're better at this year defensive backs. That's the part where I really wanted to pull my hair out last year. Our backs. I mean, every time somebody was open, our backs just were not covering. It just frustrated me. I just felt like we were weak there. But this year we got our backs led by my guy Jalen McCullough, now senior. These guys should be better than last year. And again, we have depth in these key positions, and we can't really be any worse, in my opinion, as we were 127th ranked, if I'm not mistaken, in pass yards per game last year.
Well, hopefully the good news is if those guys, Jalen McCullough and others, don't perform, there's younger guys behind them now that you can plug in. We've got a couple of transfers that can plug in. So we actually have some depth back there.
We do.
So hopefully those guys are on a shorter leash this year.
Yeah, absolutely. But 127th ranking in pass yards per game, that's atrocious, guys. And here's the good news. We were 11-2 last year, and we were ranked 127th in pass yards. So you fix that up a little bit and get a little better there. I mean, gosh, what can we do this year, right? And then also, another stat that I don't want to report, but I have to, but we were 91st in defense for total yards per game. 91st. I mean, these are stats that need to get better. And in my opinion, with the guys we have this year, those stats are going to improve, in my opinion. So there's a little optimism for me. Before I go to concerns, what do you guys want to add? Anything to that as far as optimistic?
As far as optimistic goes, just like I said, just the possibility of what Joe Milton can do this season. We saw what Hendon Hooker did last year, putting up Heisman-like numbers, even though he didn't get invited to New York, which is atrocious. But that's another story for another day. But Joe Milton, just the untapped potential of what he can do with the skill positions he has already mentioned several earlier, which also kind of brings my concern. Also, is the injuries to the offensive line. You already have Cooper Mays, as Dee's mentioned, out until possibly the Florida game, maybe longer. You do move Ollie Lane over to center. You have a transfer in left tackle in John Campbell. On the left side, Gerald Mincy looks like he's going to right tackle where Darnell Wright was last year. Now he's off to the Chicago Bears. So, that's kind of like I said, a strength and a concern for me. It's just not the offensive going to drop production numbers or anything, but just protecting Joe Milton. And then, like I said, if you do get that protection, Joe Milton can just easily step up. And then I'm excited about see what Aaron Beasley can do at linebacker. Kind of I don't want to say underrated last year, but led the team in tackles. But just, I think Aaron Beasley can have a potential All-American season at middle linebacker. Means just a leader on that defense. Excited to see not only his leadership, but just really get after the quarterback. I mean, he had a great Orange Bowl game. Probably, if it wasn't for Joe Milton, probably should have been the MVP of the Orange Bowl. I mean, he went all over Cape Klubnik in that entire game.
Yeah.
So I'm very excited to see what he can do. And then optimism, just some of the incoming freshmen, Mitch and Nico. Another linebacker, Arian Carter, getting a lot of praise in camp. What's he gonna? When's he gonna see the field? Uh, and uh, and just kind of just seeing improvement on the defense and the depth, like you mentioned, Brad.
Yeah. Yeah. Arian Carter, that's a guy that's his name's been mentioned quite a bit in fall camp. And that guy's going to be somebody, buddy. He's going to be an awesome linebacker. Yeah, going back to concerns, David, you hit on it very, very well. And Dees, you probably would agree with that. If I'm gonna say I'm concerned about anything, it's got to be the O line, and I'm not gonna get too much into it, Morrison. You covered it pretty well, but hey, let's call it like it is. We lost a few big guys, man. In particular, we lost Big Darnell Wright. That hurts. That hurts. Guy was a monster. But honestly, we just need to have guys ready to fill those shoes, give Milton protection. Cooper Mays, you already talked about it. I have huge concerns about this guy. We need him, in my opinion, but if I don't know what's going on, David, you say it's a hernia or whatever he's recovering from. I don't know, whatever it is, but I have concerns there. I just have concerns with them staying healthy this year. I don't know. But I am excited to see Spraggins, Crawford step up, have a big year for us. So, honestly, I'm not overly concerned. But if I have to pick something to be concerned about, I guess I would say our offensive line, because it's going to be crucial for us to give Milton protection. He's going to need it to make big plays this year, and make sure that he can hit his receivers. So we just gotta be good at O line, and we'll see what happens. I don't know. Deez, what do you think?
Yeah, my optimism would be we have in our two deep, so that'd be technically 44 players. We have 29 of those are seniors. So this is a senior laden team.
Awesome.
You got seniors at a lot of key positions, a lot of starting seniors. So I think that's got to pay dividends for Tennessee, especially early on in the season. I think that's a big deal. And so I like the senior leadership this team has. They've got a lot of veterans who have played a lot of snaps here. And then you also have a good mix of younger guys that can help you and add some depth. But I just like that they're a senior laden team. That gives me reason for optimism. My concern, obviously, the offensive line seems a little thin. We got to figure some positions out, especially in the two deep. But I'll also say this. I love that Joe Milton's getting his due and he's getting a lot of hype and he stuck around and handled things the right way last year. And I'm excited to see what he can do. We all know he's got big time arm, big time playmaking capabilities, but can he consistently, week in and week out, at Florida, at Alabama, home against Georgia, home against A&M, can he make the key plays when a game comes down to 2 or 3, 4 plays a game that you got to make? Can he make them?
Yeah.
Can he consistently make quality decisions? Can he protect the football? We'll see. I want to believe in him. I want him to be everything that we hope and think he can be. I want him to be a Heisman contender. I want him to repeat what Hendon did last year. But he's not the same quarterback as Hendon. He's a little different. And I don't know that we've seen him. We saw him against Clemson last year, and that was great. Just want to see him continue that, and I think we'll know by the Florida game when that plays out, when that one goes final, and how he handles that trip to Gainesville. We'll know a lot about Joe Milton and where we are at quarterback.
Yeah.
And it's nice to know that you got a freshman in Nico on the bench that's progressing and it could come in and play if needed. But this is going to be Joe Milton's team, and for better or worse, and I want him to do well. We all want to see him be successful. So. But I would be lying to you if I said I just was 100% blind faith. He's going to be great.
Yeah.
I trust Josh Heupel. I trust his system. I trust his evaluation of quarterbacks. I feel like if he needed a quarterback this offseason and he didn't believe in Joe Milton, he would have gone out and gotten one. He could have went out and gotten Sam Hartman that you were talking about earlier went to Notre Dame.
Yeah.
He didn't do that. He chose to ride or die with Joe Milton, and I'm hoping that pays off for Tennessee and for Joe Milton.
No, absolutely. And here's the thing. All we can do is go by what we've heard in fall camp, okay? Over the summer, going into fall camp and practice right now. But here's the good news. You've heard some of it on the news, on the internet, and all that good stuff. Well, I've personally checked in also with my inside source, good buddy of mine, Eric Ainge, VFL. Eric, if you're listening, hey, hope you're doing well. We're going to have you on the cast soon. but even talking with Eric, who's actually been to the practices, who gets to see some of this stuff that we don't get to see, one of the things that he mentioned to me was how much improved Milton is this year, and that he's put in the work, and it shows. They one thing he said is he doesn't believe Milton threw a single interception all camp, which is awesome. Now, hopefully that translates into the games, but for him not throwing an interception all camp, for him hitting his receivers every time very consistently, these are the things that I'm hearing that's going on. And we know that wasn't necessarily true last year because, we know he's always had the cannon of an arm, but he's not been the most consistent guy. And we heard about that last year.
His defense, this is the most preparation he's had coming into a season. Like he knows he's going to be the number one guy.
Yes,
he's gotten all the snaps in practice with the first team. He's been the guy, the leader of the offense, and so I think he's prepared for it.
He is.
This is obviously his third year in the system,
right?
He's got familiarity with his players now and with his coaches. So it's all set up for him. Can he take it? And we see it. It's all set up for Joe to go out and be the man this year. And if he can do that, he'll have a special season.
He sure will. He sure will. So we're rooting for you, Joe. And I really think, you can do great things, man. So, man, I'm ready. I'm excited. I'm excited, guys. Let's go to our next question, guys. Let's go to a guy named Bryce. Bryce O from Newport, Tennessee. Bryce, thank you so much for tuning in and writing us a question and submitting a question. So let's go to you. Which transfer or freshman do you think will make the biggest impact this season? Good question. Good question. Morrison, what do you think, man?
Well, as far as transfer goes, I think a lot of Vol fans are, I guess, unanimous in this transfer coming in, and that is Oregon transfer wide receiver Dante Thornton.
Bingo.
There's a lot of hype and a lot of optimism about him coming in. He played last year under Dan Lanning's team last year. Bo Nix, the quarterback, had a pretty decent season for the Ducks, but just kind of floated under the radar. And like a lot of players hit the transfer portal, Tennessee picked him up. And like I said, you lose the Blitnikoff a winner last year and Jalen Hyatt. Now you bring in Dante Thornton. And I really think, especially since Josh Heupel's been here 2 years ago, we saw Cedric Tillman blow up. Last year was Jalen Hyatt blow up, win the Blitnikoff. I think Dante Thornton can fit that mold right there. I know you got Brew McCoy, you got Ramel Keaton, you got Squirrel White. I mean, a very deep wide receiving core, but I think Dante Thornton is a burner downfield, a big-time playmaker. And I'm very excited to see where he's going to fit in this Josh Heupel offense. And I think he wants to play in this style.
Well, absolutely. Listen, the guy, Dante Thornton, the guy 6'5", 214 pounds. I mean, he's a big guy. He's a perfect wide receiver in terms of size. And listen, what I've heard has had a great fall camp. And if there's one area I think that we're loaded at, you just said it, Morrison. It's our wide receiving core, and Dante's skills and it's going to add tremendous value to Heupel's offense. Think about the options we have to throw to. Who'd you just say, Morrison? Brew, Ramel Keaton, Squirrel White, and then you add Dante Thornton to the mix. Talk about depth. Come on.
We are going to light up the scoreboard this year if everything clicks together, just like last year.
Absolutely.
We may run out of fireworks like we did last year too at Neyland.
I mean, it's crazy, is it not? It's crazy. I can't even. I just sometimes I have trouble just even. The amount of depth we have at wide receiver is, and these are good. I mean, these are big names.
Yeah,
these are big names.
And then next year you're bringing in Mike Matthews, a 5-star wide receiver down in
5-star.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
It's unreal. Wide receiver U is back at Tennessee.
Oh, no, there's no question about it. Hey, I'm going to give you another guy, if I may, Morrison. You might find this one interesting. I'm gonna go freshman punter Jackson Ross.
The Australian.
The Australian. That's terrible. I don't know how to speak Australian, mate. Anyways, Jackson Ross. Let me tell you guys, if you're listening right now and you don't know that name, you're going to know that name soon enough. I don't know a lot about him. I just know what I've heard from some of the coaching staff and some of the players. Hey, here's what I know. Don't think, oh, he's a punter. What? I mean, good gosh. What's he do? Get out there and punt the ball? Hey, we're talking about an athlete. One of the coaches, did you see that? Was on Facebook on a video. They were talking about Jackson Ross, and he said, "Let me tell you right now, he could be one of the most athletic guys on the entire team. This dude, rumor has it, he can throw the football almost as far as a Joe Milton as a punter. Okay, and he runs like a 4.5 40, if I'm not mistaken. God, I mean that's ridiculous."
And he's a punter. Keep that in mind.
And he's a punter. Well, let me ask you this. You think we might run a few fake punts this year if we need to?
I think that's a big positive.
Heck, that guy might take it to the house. So that's why I wanted to mention him. Jackson Ross, freshman. Glad to have this guy. Very unique individual, and I think he's going to be an asset for us. David Dees, what you got for us, buddy?
Yeah, those are all good ones. I think for me, I'll go biggest impact. That's a good question. I think I'll go 2 on defense.
Ooh.
They're going to be relying on transfers at several spots along the offensive line. You got to have John Campbell pan out, but
right
on defense, I like the addition of Keenan Peely at linebacker. I think that's a guy that's going to pair well with Aaron Beasley, and the transfer from BYU.
Yeah.
He's an older player. And from all accounts, he's had a really good training camp and fitting in nicely. So I would say him, and then also another freshman linebacker, Arian Carter. Just rave reviews about him. Best freshman linebacker they've seen there in a number of years. So I'm looking forward to seeing him play. I've not watched him play yet. I've seen his high school film, but to actually get to see him play this Saturday against Virginia, I'm looking forward to number 7, seeing him on defense when he gets in there. So looking forward to both those guys.
Awesome. Sweet. Hey, that was an awesome question. Who asked that question again? That was a great question. Whoever. Bryce, thank you so much for that question. That was that's a good question. I hope that helps our listeners, and be on the lookout for those people, because I think they are some good ones. Let's go to our next question, guys. Let's go to Tito E. from Granger County, Tennessee. Tito. What's happening, Tito? All right, let's see what Tito's got to say here. Do you think the loss of last season's offensive coordinator, Alex Golesh, will be felt in the offense this season? Good question. Me personally, I don't. Nothing against Alex Golesh, who's a head coach now. But nothing against Alex. Alex was unbelievable, a great talent, but I really don't. Great OC, now a head coach, but listen, Joey Housel is the real deal as well, guys. I think you guys know this. Our listening fans might not, but Joey's been with Heupel, basically his right-hand guy, for close to 15 years, if I'm not mistaken. Served as assistant quarterback coach at Utah State in 2015. He's at Missouri in 2016. Left coaching for the 17-18 season. Returned as an offensive analyst on Heupel's UCF staff back in 2019. And now Hassel finally earned an on-field role as quarterbacks coach in 2020, then carried those duties over to Tennessee in 21 and 22. So listen, the guy's been around. All right? So he knows what he's doing. No concerns at all from me. Morrison.
Yeah, I agree. No concerns either way, and wish Alex Golesh the best of luck as he's now at South Florida. Going to be a tough turnaround, but I think he can get that program going in the right direction. But this, and to be honest with you, this is still Josh Heupel's offense. Josh Heupel has his fingerprints all over this offensive playbook, and he's going to put guys that he feels comfortable with as far as who he trusts that can run this offense. And, Josh Heupel's been there for 3 years, and we've had very little coaching turnover. We've lost like a wide receiver coach, but promoted from within, and now here we are with offensive coordinator, bringing in moving up Joey Hazel, and then another kind of off the season addition that probably not a lot of Tennessee fans have noticed, or not a lot of, I guess, casual ball fans. McKenzie Melton, the former UCF quarterback and Florida State quarterback, played under Josh Heupel at UCF, and he's now a offensive analyst at the University of Tennessee. So, you know, just a what if scenario. If Joey Hazel gets a head coaching job sometime down the road, maybe you can see a McKenzie Melton jump up to the OC role. So, like I said, Josh Heupel is still all over this offense, and he's got a good inner circle as far as who he trusts and who he, how he wants his offense to be run.
Yeah, David Dees.
Yeah, I would just say if this year's offense takes a step back, we're not going to be blaming the loss of Alex Golesh, although he's a great coach, but you're just not going to notice that. You're going to blame Joe Milton. You're going to blame the offensive line,
right.
The loss of Jalen Hyatt, the loss of Hendon Hooker. I mean, this offense lost a lot of weapons off last season's team, as we've already stated.
Yes, sir.
So I think if we do take a step back, people aren't going to be thinking about Alex Golesh. They're going to be thinking about not having Hendon Hooker, not having Jalen Hyatt, not having Darnell Wright.
Well, and
I think
rightfully so. Rightfully so.
Yeah, right.
Those are unique athletes that we lost.
Great question.
It's a great question. Great question.
And I liked Alex Golesh a lot. You ever hear him do an interview or a press conference? He's just very well spoken and clearly a highly intelligent guy.
Yeah, he is.
So I think he was a huge asset here, but wish him the best at South Florida.
Yeah. Let's go to our final segment, guys. Let's do this. All right. Let's move on to our thoughts on the Virginia game and score predictions. Man, I haven't even thought yet, and I'm behind on this. I haven't even thought of a score prediction yet, so I'm gonna start thinking about that right now as we go through this. All right, so we got Virginia Saturday home opener, as we all know. It's in Nashville. As of right now, what is it? A 28-point favor, Tennessee against Virginia. Me personally, I think they cover. I don't see much of a game here. And I think you will. In fact, I think you're going to get a chance to see a little bit of Nico play second half. That's what I think. You're going to see Nico come in, which I think will be a really fun and exciting thing to see. Because I haven't really seen much of him at all. So I think that's kind of what's going to happen there. Not much of a game, not too much to talk about. But I'll let Morrison and David Dees add to that if they want. Go ahead.
Yeah, like you said, Brad, Tennessee, Virginia getting underway Saturday in Nashville. This will be a 12 o'clock Eastern time kickoff, 11 o'clock local time. So early start for the Vols. But, hey, last time we played an 11 a.m. game, we ran LSU out of their own stadium. So,
hey, man.
good optimism there. But, yeah, as far as Virginia goes, kind of a rough season for Tony Elliott in his first season. They went 3-7 last year, and I know, Brad, you're about to mention what happened towards the end of the year, and I'll let you have that momentarily. But just kind of getting on this football side, they only returned 3 offensive starters from last year's team. They lost quarterback Brennan Armstrong to the transfer portal. He's at NC State, so now they're relying on Tony Muskett, a transfer from Monmouth. And then their backup, if you watch the College World Series, Virginia was in the College World Series. John Wolford, who was on that World Series team for Virginia, he is the backup quarterback. And like I said, they only have 3 returning guys on offense. I think they're going to rely heavy on the running game, and then we'll see what Muskett could do. And then defensively is probably the strength of their team. They returned 6 guys. Really good defensive line core, and I think if if Virginia wants to stay in this game, we already mentioned kind of the injuries on the offensive line. I think, depends on what Tony Allen's an offensive coach, but John Rusnick, the defensive coordinator, he's got really good defensive line depth, so he could be pressuring Joe Milton probably early on, but we'll see. But kind of the rest of that defense is just inexperience. Uh, they lost a lot of guys in the transfer portal also last year. One guy went to Florida State. That was a big time loss for them. So it's this team is just a lot of young guys, a lot of inexperienced guys, a lot of kind of what ifs, and we'll see what happens with Tony Elliott. I mean, both the Virginia schools, Virginia Tech, has just kind of got some just some bad teams right now, and probably some bad coaching staffs in general. So
Yeah.
I think this could be an easy win for Tennessee, and we'll get to the score predictions momentarily.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I'd say for me, it's going to be, it's Virginia's first game since the 3 players were murdered last season. So there'll be a lot of emotion at the game. They're going to have a moment of silence at the beginning. I think Josh Heupel spoke to what some of the stuff they're going to do, and they're wearing.
Now that you mentioned that, David, you are correct. Not to cut you off, but let's I actually have a clip of what Heupel said they're going to do at the game Saturday to remember those guys, and I think I did want to touch on that. It's as you guys know, it was a horrific shooting that took place. I think it was a field trip that they were on and left 3 Virginia football players dead. It's just horrific. But I just to show the volunteer spirit and what we're gonna do to remember these people on Saturday. I'll play the clip real quick. Heupel mentioned this today, and I just thought it was kind of cool. So let's hear what he had to say real quick.
Yeah, obviously a horrific tragedy that took place there on their campus. They've had a long time to try to grow through that, and you also recognize what happened, and so there'll be a moment of silence before kickoff, and then we'll wear a decal of the 3 individuals that lost their lives on the back of the helmet.
So there you go, and David, you just mentioned that as well. But that's I think it's kind of awesome, man. It's good to see that Tennessee's going to do that. So moment of silence, and they're going to have decals with the 3 players, their numbers. So again, our hearts and prayers go out to the friends and families of those involved.
Yeah. Very sad.
It is very sad.
Very sad. And then their preseason media picked them to finish last in the ACC. Yeah. So I don't think that many people have high hopes for their season this year, year or two of Tony Elliott. We'll see. We'll have the moment of silence and pay respect, and then Tennessee's going to beat the heck out of them, 52-13 is my prediction. So 52-13, Tennessee over Virginia in Nashville to kick off the Joe Milton 2023.
Wow. 52-13. Okay.
Yeah. I was going to go 50-10, the final. Tennessee.
50-10.
Mm-hmm. Expect to see Joe Milton play kind of very limited, and then it'll be Nico time. Who knows? You may even see Gaston Moore come in and play. He was kind of the darling after the orange and white game.
Yeah. I'm going to go. Let's see here. I'm going to go Tennessee 40. Tennessee 45. Virginia. Let's see here. 17. I just think and I think they can get 17 because I think you're going to have a lot of our backups in second half, and they'll get some. I think they might get some points there at the end, but yeah, I'm going to go 45-17. I think it could be worse, but I don't think Heupel's gonna. I don't think he's gonna run it up to 60 to 3 or something like that.
He's not going to treat Virginia like he's going to treat South Carolina.
God, I can't wait. And by the way, Morrison, I don't know if you know this yet. I'll be at that game.
Oh,
Your
really?
founder will be at that South Carolina game. And why? Because it's a revenge game. We're going to talk about that another time. I could spend a whole hour talking about that. A lot to look forward to this season, though, and that's definitely one of the games I'm looking forward to. All right, so you got our predictions. Very cool. All right, guys, we're almost through here. We're going to end with one last segment, and this is going to be an exciting one. It is our season win-loss prediction. Woo! Here we go. This is one of those moments, guys, that we're going to look back at the end of the year. We're going to rewind the tape, go back to episode 1, and see how good we did. Season win-loss predictions this year. Who wants to go first? I know no one's going to raise their hand, so I'm going to pick someone. I'm going to go with David D's first.
All right. Last year, I think I went. It was either 8-4 or 9-3, and needless to say, I was very pleasantly surprised when we went 10-2.
Who said 10-2 last year?
So
Does
in the
anybody
same
remember?
spirit of that,
Does anybody remember who said 10-2 last year?
You did at the beginning of the year.
Yeah.
So I think I went 9-3. I think I was a game behind you.
Anyways, go ahead.
So this year, in the same spirit of that, I just enjoyed being surprised and not having just like outrageous expectations. I think this team's good enough to go 10-2 or 11-1. But I'm going to predict 9-3. Ask me after the Florida game, and I may change that prediction. I think the Florida game is a huge game this year and will tell us a lot. And how Joe Milton and our offense plays down there. But I'm going to go 9-3. I can see Tennessee. I can see a scenario of them beating pretty much everybody on their schedule. And then I could also make a case for them to stub their toe a few times. So I'm gonna go 9-3 with a ceiling being probably 11-1.
Morrison.
Yeah, so I on Fall Society Live, which you can watch on our social media pages every Tuesday night at 8:00 with myself. I did my predictions the last episode, and I went 10-2 on the year. I have losses to both Alabama because I guess that obviously that would be a big revenge game for them, and then I have us losing to Georgia. I will say like the month of October, which is normally our toughest month of the whole season, because that's where you get, depends on where the teams line up. But usually we always get Alabama, and then we always get a team out in the West. It's really tough, and Georgia used to be there, but now we moved it to November. But in November you do get Texas A&M to come to Knoxville. I think that's going to be a big time matchup. That's a game I will be at, Brad.
Awesome.
I'll be there.
Nice. It'll be a good game.
Yeah, I'm excited about that. And then you had the bye week, and then you do have Alabama on that schedule. That's going to be tough. And then the following week, at the end of October, you go to Kentucky. So, I mean, back-to-back road games at Alabama and at Kentucky. That's going to be very tough. And I think this Kentucky team, like I said, they were nothing last year when they came to Neyland. I think they're going to be a little bit more tougher and be ready to play us. But, watch out to see what happens in October with A&M and Alabama, Kentucky on that schedule. And even going back to South Carolina, even though it's a September game, it's a late September game, I think that's going to be a wild scene that you'll be at, Brad. I mean, it's going to be that fan base is just going to be like ravenous warriors out there. It's
going to be crazy.
It's going to be a crazy scene. And then obviously, once you get into late November, when you get to the Georgia game, I mean, that's especially even if Tennessee loses one game by that point, you got Tennessee and Georgia for the SEC East, and the winner goes to Atlanta. But like I said, I'm going 10-2 on the year. I think the two losses to Bama and Georgia, but it's going to be some tough games. I even that UTSA game, which is right after Florida, that to me, I think that's where you're really going to see if our secondary is really improved, because the Roadrunners, back-to-back 10-win seasons, they won Conference US. Yeah, exactly. Won Conference USA last year. Now they move up to the American Conference with all the conference football realignment.
Yeah.
They returned, I think, 8 out of 11 starters on offense, including Frank Harris, who's been there for 40 years. and the all-time leading passer there. But I think that's going to be kind of one of those games that could be very interesting too. But,
Yeah. All right. So 10-2, right?
10-2.
All right. I'm writing it down. I'm going to give you two scenarios here because I don't have just a spot-on answer right now. It's very much in line with David D's, but here's your best-case scenario for me. All right, best-case scenario, Vols go 11-1 this year. 11-1. Where does that loss come from? Georgia, Alabama, Florida? I don't know. I don't know yet. But what I do know is if our defense is improved and Milton can hit his targets, 11-1, folks. 11-1. A likely record, if I was a betting man today, is probably more around that 9-3. Why? Why 9-3? It's very simple to me. We don't have Hooker, and we don't have Hyatt. Say what you will, both players are very special guys with special talents. And they're huge reasons we had the season we had last year. Period. Okay? So hopefully that makes sense. That's what I'm sticking with right now. I'm hoping we can do the 11-1, but there's much to see and I don't know. I really don't know. We'll know. Here's what we will know. We will know after that Florida game. In my opinion, that's the big game for us this year. If you recall, last year we talked about the big game that's going to determine the what the season is going to look like for us. It was that Pitt game last year, and sure enough, it wasn't pretty, but we found a way to win. And what happened after that? We kept finding a way to win. So, in my opinion, that Florida game is that game this year. It's hard to win in the swamp, and it's not going to be easy. But if we can win that game, whoo! Look out, guys! Look out! You guys have anything else you want to say before we call it a night? Morrison, D's.
No, I'm just ready to get going on Saturday. Let's get the season going.
I'm looking forward to watching the ball game with you guys on Saturday.
Yes. So, for those that don't know, I reside in Charlotte, North Carolina, and I will be making my grand entrance to Southeast Tennessee this coming weekend, and I'm going to be watching the game with my boys here. We're going to be the three amigos will be together watching the first game, so I'm very excited to see you guys. It's been a while. I haven't been to Tennessee, and honestly, I couldn't tell you when. So I'll see you guys Saturday, and if you're not following Vol Society on Facebook, you're going to want to do that because I'm sure I'm going to have videos uploaded and all sorts of different things during the game Saturday. So please be sure to follow us there. All right? Good. All right, that's going to do it for us. I want to thank you once again for tuning in tonight to our Season 2 premiere of Good Old Rocky Talk. We have a lot of exciting things planned this year, which include special guests, VFLs, such as my good friend Eric Ainge. He will be back this year. And others, hopefully. So be sure to follow us throughout the year. Until next week, this has been Brad Frank with David Dees and David Morrison saying good night and go Vols.